Welcome, everybody. It is Coach Les and Mr. Yarwood, and we are here with Yarwood's Matt Chat on StreamYard, and we are currently on Facebook on 3 locations, YouTube, X, and on Mr. Yarwood's new X channel as well. So he is locked and loaded. And today we're going to be discussing integrity. It is the current life skill at Yarwood's Martial Arts Studio for this month. Every month, Mr. Yarwood does a life skill to help support training people, not only in the studio, but as they walk into the studio. It is one of the things that they have to look at and say, and then as they carry about their everyday, it's the skill that they take every day into their life. And today's skill gives me a double thumbs up because it's what I have narrowed my coaching skills and coaching lane to be about integrity. And I call myself an integrity coach, the first active integrity coach, although there's a website that says integrity coach. He doesn't label himself as an integrity coach. He just labeled his website integrity coach, and I'm not interested in buying it from him, which he did suggest. He said, hey, I'll sell it to you, but I'm not in that position unless I win the lottery, and then I might purchase it from him. I want to start off though by giving a couple of definitions to integrity. The first is very short, sweet, and simple. Integrity is not necessarily keeping your word, it's honoring your word and keeping an empowering conversation or possibility alive and real. And what that in short says is, look, we're human beings. We're going to fail, not if, when. And in that space, if we're not going to be keeping that integrity, there is a way for us to honor it. And the easiest way, because since I'm notorious for this one, is when you know that you're going to a dinner at 6 o'clock and it takes 45 minutes with zero traffic to get from your location to that dinner. And there's traffic most days, most times at 5:15. If you're supposed to be there at 6, you instantly get on the phone and say, hey, it's, as we know, it's 45 minutes. There's traffic. My intention is I'm not going to be there on time, and I'm letting you know that most likely I'm going to be 10 to 15 minutes late. Now, yes, you broke your word. You said you would be there at 6 o'clock. Honoring that word then gives you the distinction now of saying, hey, as soon as I knew I wasn't going to be on time, I got in communication and said, boom. Now, the next thing is being responsible for that integrity. What does that look like? That says, I know that 10, 15 minutes is going to have an impact. What is that impact? And how do I be responsible for that impact? It may be nothing. That person may say, oh, good. The turkey that's in the oven isn't going to be done for 30 minutes. So you're going to be 15 minutes ahead of time anyway. So, woo, awesome. And now all of a sudden, everybody's happy because there's that space of honoring word. And everybody's empowered. Now, a longer description of integrity is this. And by the way, if you really want to have fun, go to the Harvard Business Library, look up the word integrity, and there's a document by Stephen Jensen, a professor, and Werner Erhard that is over 28 pages, singularly on integrity. The next one I'm going to share with you is only 2 paragraphs because I think it captures the primary principles that we can be responsible for if we choose to live a life of integrity. Now, that being said, I was a leader in an organization that for getting into leadership, there was a requirement for doing an integrity checklist. And that checklist for me got up to 100 pages. And it was every area of my life.
How do you keep track of all that?
It's all alphabetical in the document, and it's things like sleep, brushing your teeth, laundry, home, dusting, cleaning, toilets, cleaning, shower, all of those things, right, that have your life work at that next level, right? Because what happens if you don't brush your teeth twice a day? Then your teeth go out of integrity. You end up with a cavity. It costs you money, costs you time. All of those things happen. So there's a ripple effect in your life when you go out of integrity. So how do we deal with that? Well, we can deal with it on an extreme case, or we can deal with it in the simplicity. The simplicity I already shared with you. And the next level is this one. Integrity. Nothing hidden. Being truthful and honest. Doing complete work. Working from an empowering context. And doing very well what you do. Doing it as it was meant to be done or better, and without cutting corners. In other words, honoring one's word. Doing what you know to do, doing what you said you would do, and on time, doing what others could expect you to do, even if you haven't said that you would do it, and saying when you are not doing this as soon as you realize you won't be doing it or won't be doing it on time. So the case in point is, if I know that my days I'm jamming and trying to squeeze in every iota of responsibility I can, and I see at noon that there's a ripple effect following me, at noon, I could call that person that I'm supposed to be at their house at 6 p.m. and say, hey, my day is kind of in a tsunami mode. And I want to be in communication that I know, unless there's a miracle, I'm going to be 15 to 30 minutes late tonight. Does that still work for you? And they get a chance to say yes or no. Now, this is the piece that is going to have people's mouths drop open. When you do this level of integrity, miracles show up. Stoplights are green. All of a sudden, your word gets empowered by that integrity conversation, and miraculously you show up on time and you look and go, how did I do that? And you realize all the stoplights were green. There was no stupid traffic in front of you. And all of a sudden you made it as if there was no traffic. That's the miracle of integrity. And it happens in every single area of our life. So with that, I'm handing it over to you, Mr. Yarwood.
So when we teach our life skills, we have a vast audience in terms of age. So we start at 4 years old and we go up to, 60 years old. So everybody understands it a little bit differently. So we have to boil it down to its basic form and then use examples to be able to explain it. So say we're in what we call the Little Dragons class. They're 4 to 6 year old kids, right? If I say to them, what is integrity? They have no clue what I'm talking about. They don't have any idea what the word itself means. So we have to put it to them in a way that they're going to understand it and be able to apply it. So what we typically do with them is we tell them a story. Say we ask them about mom making them or grandma making them their favorite chocolate chip cookies. And then grandma leaves them on the counter and she tells them, don't have any cookies, right? And then she leaves, goes and does her thing. And the kid is like, walks into the kitchen, smells those wonderful cookies sitting on the counter, and they smell so good and know exactly how they taste because grandma makes the best cookies ever. And there's probably 4 dozen of them there, just in a big bowl. There's no way grandma knows how many are there, and she would never know if I just grabbed one single cookie and didn't say anything. There's nobody around to see it. Nobody's even going to know, right? We asked them the question, is it okay if nobody's going to know that you take a cookie, even though grandma said you're not supposed to? And they sit. Sometimes they think. Sometimes they know the answer right away, right? But then I always ask them, I said, if you did take a cookie and nobody knows, does nobody really know, or does somebody know? And they're like, what do you mean? I said, somebody always knows that you didn't do what you're supposed to do. And that somebody is you. Whether grandma finds out or not, doesn't matter, because you know you didn't do what you were supposed to do, right? So we talk to them about integrity, using that so that they understand it. They know that for them, integrity is doing the right thing, even when grandma's not there, making the right decisions about what it is that you're going to do. So that way they can talk about it and understand it at their level and still get what the meaning of it is, right? When we get to the next age group, the older people, the older kids and adults, we talk to them in terms of when we're doing warm-ups. Say they're doing what we call stretch kicks. When we do a stretch kick, every time you kick, you got to kick higher and higher because you're trying to get a stretch in, right? And all the instructors aren't always there to watch you do every single kick. So if the instructor doesn't see you, are you still doing the kick you're supposed to do, or are you kind of cheating a little bit because you don't feel like doing it? You got to make that decision for yourself, right? Am I doing the right thing by cheating, or am I doing the right thing by doing it exactly how the instructor told me to do it, whether he sees me or not? So when we put it to them in those terms, it makes sense to them. Doing the right thing even when nobody's watching, right? Are you at home training the way you're supposed to train, or because nobody's there to tell you, do you decide, I'm not going to do it? Is that the right decision, or is it the wrong decision? So then they start to really get a grasp on how we see integrity, and it kind of ties in also with one of our other favorite ones is that self-discipline piece, right? Having the self-discipline to make the decision to have good integrity, to do the things you're supposed to do, even when nobody's around to tell you to do them. So then we quiz them. We make sure that they're doing the right thing, and we're saying, hey, you got to be honest with yourself, because there isn't anybody there to keep you honest. So we have to make decisions as individuals on whether we're doing the right thing or the wrong thing. And we all know the difference. Whether we want to believe it or not, we know the difference between the right and wrong. We can articulate whether it's right or whether it's wrong, and then we make those decisions based on that. So for us, integrity is boiled down to it, doing the right thing, especially when nobody's around to see you do it. So then we quiz them. We give them questions about, is this integrity? Is this integrity? Is this integrity? So they get a grasp and an understanding of what it is that we're trying to talk about. And then they can utilize it not only in class, but when they go to school, when they're at home, when they're at grandma's house, when they're at Target, when they're at Walmart, wherever they are, they're always having that integrity to make the right decision, whether it's the right decision or the wrong decision. So it's a little bit more simplified for us as martial arts instructors. Obviously, the big picture, it goes into great detail about all the other ways of living in integrity and doing all those other things. But boiled down, when we really get down to the base of it, it's doing the right thing.
And I think that not only is it doing the right thing, it's setting somebody up for the difference it makes to do it as it was meant to be done. Like if you're asking somebody to do stretch kicks and get higher and higher and higher, there's a reason you're doing that. It's not because it sounds good coming out of your mouth.
It's not because I told you to.
It's so that you can actually warm up your muscles,
Mm-hmm.
warm up your tendons. And then when you get to doing the activities, you don't injure yourself. So you're less prone to injury.
Yep. And we also talk about when you're doing your form, have integrity in your form. When you're doing those moves that are in your form, do them with everything you got. Give it your very best. Don't cheat. Don't, like I said, when the instructor's back is turned to you, don't just go through the motions, right? Do it the way you're supposed to do it. Every single time you do it. Not only when somebody's watching you, but when somebody's not watching you. How do you act? Because how you do one thing is how you end up doing everything. And if you're not going to give all on your form, you're not going to give your all in school, you're not going to give your all at home doing your chores, it all starts to grow. So starting with the little things, that's where the base of it is, and then it starts to go from there.
And I think what I think people don't see is the fact that when you are doing things the way they were meant to be done, the results are so much more empowering.
Yep.
And it's something, it's like, look, I can't tell you how to balance on a pedal bike. I can't tell you balance. I can explain it. I can share with you how you can lead up to it. There is one moment in the transformation of not having balance to having balance that it suddenly goes click. And nobody can share with you what that click looks like.
Nope.
So to me, that's the nature of this game. And it's super powerful. And as a business coach, when people come to me and they say, I just cannot seem to get X and Y to work together. And I go, well, have you looked at have you looked at all of the factors that precede getting X and Y done? And when you do X and Y, are you doing it as it was meant to be done or better? And when you do that, are the results that you're producing consistent with that higher level? And that's the fun.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Because when we start day one, we start teaching them that when they do their form, when they do their moves, every single time you do it just a little bit better. If you are doing it a little bit worse, you're not having the integrity of your moves. You're not having the integrity of your form. So we try and teach them that every single time you do it with everything you got. Because if we get to a point, you get to your point in your training where you're struggling with things, we have an opportunity to, okay, let's back it out a little bit. What is it that we missed along the way, or that you decided not to do, that put you in a situation that created a scenario where you're not able to do something? What is it that you didn't do along the way that we can add this ingredient that's going to make it so you are able to do it? And not only that, excel at it and move forward from it and get on to the next thing. Because if you get stuck at this one thing, you're not gonna move forward. So analyzing, breaking it down, and figuring out, okay, what did I miss? What did I feel like I shortcutted along the way to try and get where I want to go? Shortcuts are, a huge problem. They don't work. They might get you where you want to go immediately quicker, but ultimately they hold you back.
Yeah. You might give somebody a black belt, ahead of time in a short way, but it won't do them any good if they don't know what it is.
If they didn't do all the work that goes into it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. It's really good.
But that's how we operate. We have those expectations that you have integrity in what you're doing. I tell the students all the time, well, I ask them the question. Like if we go on vacation for a week and we come back, how many of you trained while you're on vacation? Raise your hand. And one of two things happens. Either they all raise their hand or they kind of go, this is no. This is you didn't. If you're not sure, you didn't. You either did or you didn't, right? So then I ask everybody who raised their hand the question, 3-letter question. Are you sure? And this is what happens. Oh, maybe not.
Yeah.
Because I tell them, if it gets to the point where I ask that question, are you sure? I already know the answer. So you have to think about whether you actually did what you say you did or not. Because as an instructor, and it's not just an instructor, but your instructor, I can tell whether you did the work or not. The results show me whether you did the work or not.
Yeah.
You can tell me all day long, but if I watch you and I don't see any improvement, that tells me you weren't doing the work that you said you were going to do. So then if you complain about the results you're not getting, that's on you. That's not on me.
Yeah.
I can only take responsibility for what I've done, the tools I've given you, the way I've trained you. You take it to the next level. And if you aren't succeeding in that and you're not doing the work as well, then that's you. That's different if you're doing the work, but you're just not finding results. I can tell the difference.
And, in my experience in working with you as a student of Taekwondo, if I've done the work and I'm not producing the result, when I show you what I've been doing, it's very easy for you to go, well, I know exactly why you're not getting the results.
Yep. Here's what you're missing.
Yep. And then the tweak then instantly allows me, this is my personal experience, instantly allows me to correct it, put it into place, and all that hard work still paid off.
Yep.
Even though I may not have been doing it with the utmost integrity. Sometimes, you have to give yourself some grace. Sometimes that piece of integrity, we may not know what's missing, the presence of which will make a difference.
Yep.
It's like a blind spot because we don't know what we don't know.
Yep.
And
if you're willing to take that information and apply it, you're going to have the results that you're looking for. But if I tell you to fix something and then you end up not fixing it and I can still see the issue there, that tells me you didn't take the information and implement it.
Yep. Or if you took the information and when you implemented it, it wasn't implemented in the way it was intended. Because a lot of times we hear information from people and our interpretation of that information may not be what you're intending for us to hear.
Right.
This is one of those keys, right? I don't necessarily hear every word Mr. Yarwood says. I hear my interpretation, my memory of the words that you say going in and out of my brain. He said, kick harder. And so my interpretation of kick harder means grunt, kick harder, faster, blah, 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 blah. and that may not be the place that you're speaking from, because there's a difference between power and force. One, force is not being responsible for all of the little minute details that come along with power. Force may be fast and just get it out there harder.
As hard as you can. Yep.
As hard as you can. Where power comes from, how do I kick with accuracy, kick with control, and increase the energy behind it so the impact has more effectiveness to it.
Yep.
That's power versus force.
Yep.
So in life, when we're talking about integrity, those are the things that exist. And those are the things for us to work on.
Yeah, it's I think internally most people know what integrity is without necessarily like, if I say the word integrity, maybe they don't know what it means. But when I explain it to them, then they go, oh, yeah, I know what that is, right? So internally, they already know, because if you're doing the right thing and you're making those right decisions, nobody's perfect. Sometimes the right decision ends up being the wrong decision. But when you are making decisions, you decide, is it right or is it wrong? And that's what it boils down to. And if you're already mostly making right decisions, you're living in integrity, and you may not really understand it, but that's how you operate, right? Whereas there are people who always want to take the shortcut, always want to find the easy way, always want the quick fix, right? They know that what they're doing isn't right? So they don't necessarily know that they're whether integrity or not, but they know they're not doing the right thing internally. So they are understanding that they're not living with integrity either, because they're always choosing the easy way versus the right way. So when you put it to them and they understand the difference, hopefully we can get the changes that we're looking for. Hopefully we can get them to start correcting themselves without having us constantly having to do it for them. Because that's the ultimate goal, is that people are doing it themselves.
The other scary thing about integrity is a lack of integrity loves another lack of integrity.
Yep.
I smell like poop, but so do you, and I love it.
Yeah. It feeds on other stuff.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So it's the old statement of misery loves company.
Yep.
Gossip creates more.
Yep.
So all of these things.
Bullying too.
Oh.
That's a severe lack of integrity if you're a bully.
And sometimes bullies are being bullies because they have not figured out how to fit in. So based on that, they try to fit the front of the line.
Instead of finding their place, they're making other people like them so that they have somebody. If they feel terrible about themselves, well, then we'll make somebody else feel terrible too. Then I won't feel as bad.
Right.
Which actually just makes it worse.
Ooh. Yeah. Makes the poop deeper.
Yep.
So for me, this is one of those things. Also, as a coach, when things aren't working, and you go, well, gosh, everything at my job is awesome. I love my job. Everything's great. Conversations are good. Money's good. How's your relationship at home? Not good.
That's why I'm always at work.
So having a lack of integrity over here does not necessarily mean you could put more integrity in over there and go,
Yep.
oh wow, look.
Yeah, it's not a pie where more on one means less on the other.
And the great thing in my position as a coach is when I start to have clients restore their integrity, both in communication, both in visualization, in the physicality of it. It's like literally watching miracle grow. Right? And now it's not always the happiest thing. People sometimes don't love their coach, i.e. me, in the middle of the poop. When I'm sitting over here going, well, dude, you just got poop on your pants. Clean it off. It's like, okay, well, then don't. But then you're going to have the smell.
Yep.
And other people are going to smell it. Which means they may not come and get service from you. Really? Yeah. So, no, it's a wonderful opportunity. Well, that's my notes at this point. That's what I have. Is there anything else you'd like to end with, or?
No, I think we pretty much covered it all. I mean, it just basically, like I said, it comes down to right from wrong, making the right decision. Sometimes the right decision is the hard decision, but if you always make the right decision, odds are with you that things are going to work out. Things are going to go the way you want them to go. It's not a guarantee because, like I said, sometimes the right decision leads to other things, but ultimately you can't go wrong making the right decision.
There's also I'm going to say, integrity is about workability. So for those of you that are watching this, you'll see that I have my business coaching address at the bottom of my screen. When you go to that and you look up and you look across the menu and you see coaching and you click on it and it says resources, there's some free resources there. Those are all PDFs and they're all free. And one of them is a document on responsibility, the willingness to be cause in the matter of one's life. Ultimately, it's a context from which one chooses to live life over and 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 over. Well, when you look at the game of integrity, without integrity, nothing works. Think of it as a bike wheel and the spokes on a wheel. If one breaks, the rest start to take more and more and more and more and more load. Therefore, one spoke can impact the whole kit and caboodle. So with that, I'm done. And
Yes, sir.
Just really appreciate you taking the time to come together for us to do this, Mr. Yarwood.
Yes, sir.
And I will go ahead and play our 10-second Yarwood's outro.
See you later.
Take care, everybody.